Giving thanks, the past is but a memory, the future is yet to be, today is the present, a gift for you and me. Another long day finally ended, and by this time I was not in a good mood. The design company I worked for had put in a last-minute request to have their #1 product heavily available over the holidays. And of course, I was the lucky one that was chosen to make a presentation in a part of the country that needed our vision and products in their storefronts. Downtown Croydon was making a comeback, and we were on board to help push the product's image onto their scene and into real stores. We were told that the fashionistas were already anxiously waiting online for our trendy outfits. We jumped ahead knowing that clothing, especially women's wear, had become our hot market item. The latest patterns were a tribute to the days of women in the art world of the last century and one especially important artist, Georgia O'Keeffe. We had hundreds of design sketches in the works before narrowing it down to the ones that spoke to our image and our newest theme of honoring this artist. The ones chosen were reflective of Georgia's mid-century modernism style, but especially the large, and I mean large, floral images. Her flair and feeling for Mother Earth brought our staff to a level of design with deep humbleness and creativity, but her legend will never be replicated. I took a deep breath, shook my head and loaded my car for the long drive ahead. I get it. My suggestion from the very beginning was what prompted the art challenge for the company. They felt it worthy to take it to an extremely high level. I should be thankful for the chance to promote myself as well as the artist. If Georgia only knew, what would she say to me? My apartment was locked up and I was ready to go. My roommate had my info and wished me luck, knowing this was not a fun getaway but just a work gig pushing my buttons. Merging onto the highway, I hit my favorite Tunes app on my iPhone and settled into the drive. 6 hours of going down the highway and back roads was such a thrill to look forward to. Don't get me wrong. Art is my strong suit in so many ways, but the business side was so stressful, it was sapping the happy side of a joyful life. Hour after hour went by, and as the evening darkness settled in, I felt the need to reflect on a few good things going on instead of drowning in the muddy part of my career. I thought back to the life of my grandfather, Eng-Viet, who was an architect in the heyday of the same era as Georgia O'Keeffe. His passion was landscape design as well as the stick building of architecture. Did they know each other through the world of art in the many projects in New York City? Central Park was one epic claim to fame of the architectural firm that lives on with its important impact of nature in the middle of the city. I think I need to have a conversation with him today. Good advice was in his skill set. I smiled, thinking of all his buddies over time who went through the pearly gates to meet up with him. The darkness was now making me pay more attention to the road. I was pretty weary, but not enough to call it a night before my final stop. The sky was now pretty dark, no clouds. The winter chill was skirting the last edge of the fall season as the hour of midnight approached. The traffic flow had now become mostly cross-country long haulers along with few cars here and there. I followed a truck that moved up ahead in the lane as he drove through a night construction area. We made it through a boondoggle of what seemed to be a crazy maze of road markers and finally straightened out. Suddenly, I was pulled into the confusion of an unforeseen accident of immense magnitude. The big rig that I had been following hit a road sign arching over the roadway that had been lowered yet not raised to allow for the safety of larger, taller vehicles or trucks such as the one I followed. The next thing that happened, the long-haul truck slammed straight into the sign and immediately jackknifed. In panic I tried to swerve but ended up rear-ending the truck with my SUV getting caught up in the undercarriage and dragged alongside. I screamed in panic to no avail. The screeching and hissing of brakes. The crunch of metal against metal forced a hit against my head on the steering wheel. With my face bleeding, I tried to open the window when a blaze of light suddenly lit up the area. Another truck as big as this one was thundering towards the accident. I screamed, watching in horror as the driver, not realizing the severity of the situation, caught the back end of my car before there was time to hit the brakes. The SUV folded up like cardboard, crushed like a sardine can, and was on fire. the triple vehicle mess spun severely out of control. Smoke filled the air and flames were spreading. I was alive yet numb, in shock, and trapped in my car. My mind drifted as sirens screamed in the air. I saw light and colors and F.
Beneath the dirt, her hair was midnight black and it gracefully flowed over her shoulders. Her dazzling eyes stared blankly at the space in front of her. Her velvety eyelashes dropped with a dull thud. With a slow hand movement, her varnished fingernails rubbed her thick velvety eyelashes, revealing a pair of rapture blue eyes. A set of dazzling, angel-white teeth gleamed as she blew gently over her carmine-red fingernails. After a quick glance at her beautiful watch, Aaliyah sighed heavily as she adjusted her position. Leaning backwards on the park bench, an incoming message flashed across the screen of her smartphone, notifying her that her friend Tara would be picking her up in a few minutes. As Aaliyah sat silently on the park bench, a clumsy masculine figure plodded stealthily towards her and sat down beside her. His charcoal gray hair was oily and unkempt, as if he had not known the pleasure of a shower or comb since the reception days of World War I. His once white jacket, transformed to filthy brown, covered the untucked, tattered and sweat-stained t-shirt under it. He wore an old pair of denim jeans that were shredded in the knees and rested 3 inches above his bony, protruding ankles. His eyes, filled with loneliness and despair as if he had realized a lack of purpose in his life, were set in bags of black and purple rings 2 layers deep. His long entangled beard penetrated the depth of the abyss. The awful stench that oozed from his malnourished body could annihilate a whole housefly species. "Well, here I am. What are your other 2 wishes?" chuckled the homeless stranger. Aaliyah burst into laughter, revealing her dazzling white set of teeth and pair of dimples on her ruby cheeks. "Are you a time traveler?" "'Cause I see you in my future," added Steve, staring straight into Aaliyah's compassion-filled eyes. Aaliyah could see a successful handsome man beneath the dirt. She felt a romantic connection with the destitute stranger. Steve's elated smile amidst his predicament astonished Aaliyah. Time seemed to freeze as Steve and Aaliyah stared deeply into each other's eyes. A mysterious bond between the two was prominent in the romantic ambience. The rejuvenating song of the intrigued nightingales watching from among the trees filled the park with an aura of comfort. Steve leaned over towards Aaliyah. The roaring of an elegant Range Rover parking adjacent to where the lovebirds were perching broke the silence. "Hey Aaliyah, I am so sorry for keeping you waiting for all this time. I met heavy traffic along the way and I had no alternative route here. We should get going now." "You must be tired," cried Tara, as she beckoned Aaliyah to join her in the whirring car. "Hey Ali, who is that tattered man?" inquired the startled Aaliyah. "You mean he is just a friend?" interjected Aaliyah as she blushingly slipped a tiny piece of paper into Steve's rugged hand. With slow hesitant steps, Aaliyah plodded towards the jet-black metallic horse, wading through a sea of melancholy as she left Steve behind. With a brief glance back at Steve, Aaliyah sat in the roaring car. As the ebony Range Rover sped off out of sight, Steve unfolded the tiny piece of paper. It had a phone number written on it. He smiled as he spread out his lean body onto the lonely metallic bench. The fading evening sun cast long shadows on the ground. The slanting rays of the setting sun gave a warm tinge to the cloudy sky. The occasional barking of faraway stray dogs kept Steve's eyes wide open as he rehearsed the events of the day in his mind. Perching on the edge of the cozy bed in the enormous visitor's room, Aaliyah could hardly lay her mind to rest as she thought about the Prince Charming. Has he had supper? Where has he slept? Has he met thugs on the way? Where did he go? Could there have been a snake nearby? Did a fox attack him? Oh no. Let me run. The beeping sound of her smartphone teleported Aaliyah from the captivating jungle of thoughts into reality. She woke up to a call from a strange number. "Hello Arl. This is Steve." "Oh why yes Steve," whispered Aaliyah as she beamed into a wide smile. "Been wondering if you reached safely." "I can't sleep. I am thinking about you." "We'll be waiting for you Tamor," muttered Steve as his talking credit gave up the ghost. The following day, Steve and Aaliyah went out on a picnic. Silver rays of the summer sunlight slipped through the cracks of the blooming apple tree. Steve and Aaliyah sat right under it as it pixelated shadows on the dry grass blades, shifting and swaying as the wind gently blew through the evergreen leaves. The checkered carpet was soft and silky, with colors switching between red and blue, making the delicious array of food more prominent. The garnishing was so meticulous and the smell so alluring that Steve's taste buds began to tingle as they fathomed the unimaginable flavors infused in them. Steve and Aaliyah spoke intimately and laughed.